Good afternoon. Hey, earlier I said that I'm continuing these video messages about the campaign. It's just without having other resources and not having a career to build on. I'm using these to kind of establish a foundation of the previous work on behalf of our nation and people, and about how the former stepfather, with his influences, pivoted on various details from earlier in my life that I personally didn't think that much about. And I'm mostly sure that another of the details that was secretly pivoted on was from when I was attending college at South Florida Junior College in Avon Park back in '77 and '78, soon after leaving the Navy. On one day in an astronomy class, I noticed a Reader's Digest magazine that had an interesting cover on it, illustration of a number of planets close together, all fitting on the front cover. Much larger than you normally see them. And the title of the illustrations was they were featuring excerpts from a book from the 1950s named Worlds in Collision, book by a Russian scientist by the name of Emmanuel Velikovsky. Well, it was interesting. The excerpts were about the theory that the author had that earlier in history, when people could see the events in space, that in antiquity there was drastic kind of events because planets were much closer than they are these days. A reason, of course, that planets were named as though gods is because they were seen closer close enough to Earth to make a difference, and sometimes that there was action that was associated with wars. The author Velikovsky, his theory was that Venus was first a comet, and that Venus was something of a villain about being on a cometary path that collided through the solar system and collided with the orbit of Mars, and also caused variation of the moon, and nearly collided into the Earth, where the other planets, being the planet Mars, Venus, and the Moon, about the variations that were caused by the passage of Venus, nearly caused collision at the Earth, and that it precipitated some very bad disasters that Velikovsky says that there's evidence, and that there is written history describing. And anyway, I had never heard anything about any of it back until then, 77 or 78. And I thought it was kind of interesting to think back, how much of a difference it would be in written history if part of the known truth was that planets were so much closer to the Earth, so much larger and imposing looking. And so anyway, that was, like I say, interesting. And then I set the matter aside. I didn't know about any kind of space programs, really. I never had any suspicions either. I had just thought it was kind of interesting to speculate that there was such a difference in earlier history. So anyway, I just thought I'd mention that the particular book was pivoted on in some way, though I mostly set it aside. I think about a couple of years later, I did some research from it actually, though I checked it out of a library and learned that besides Worlds in Collision, there was mostly the Velikovsky's astronomical kind of perspective about it. That he also wrote a couple of other books that he called Ages and Chaos, where he speculates that the cosmic catastrophes that had occurred that caused restructuring in history, that there have been gaps in history because of the disasters. And he also speculates in another book that he wrote, Earth in Upheaval, that he did geological kind of research to offer what he believes is proof that there had been such disasters, and the disasters had actually been precipitated by the comet Venus, and the various affectations that the comet had pertaining to Mars and the Moon also. but the planet, the comet Venus, then established itself onto a more stable orbit and became where it is these days, and that Mars also stabilized into a predictable orbit, and so hopefully there won't be any disasters like there had been in earlier history. So with that in mind, I hope that everyone's going to have a peaceful and fun Memorial Day weekend, and that the strife in Ukraine is going to be resolved, and that the war won't get any worse, and that there will be a more peaceful future.